You've probably seen this happen. The moment you stop explaining yourself, someone gets nervous. The moment you stop chasing, someone gets colder. The moment you go quiet, someone else suddenly gets louder. And it's strange because from the outside, you didn't really do anything. You just stopped filling the space. You stopped volunteering your inner world. Stopped over-clarifying. Stopped making other people comfortable with constant access to your thoughts. And somehow, that silence changed the energy. That's the part most people miss. Silence is not neutral to insecure people. Silence is pressure. Silence is uncertainty. Silence is a mirror with no flattering angle. And insecure people don't panic because you went quiet. They panic because, in your silence, they can no longer control what the moment means. They can't read you easily. They can't manage your perception of them. They can't relax into the usual script. And in a Jungian sense, that's when the real disturbance begins. Because silence has a way of loosening the persona, the social mask, and stirring the shadow, the hidden disowned parts underneath it. So if you've ever wondered why some people get weird the second you become quiet, this is probably why. 1. Insecure people use noise to feel safe. Let's start here. A lot of insecure people don't actually feel safe in truth. They feel safe in activity, in noise, in chatter, in constant reassurance, in explaining, in reacting, in checking, in oversharing, in filling every gap before anything uncomfortable can rise to the surface. Because silence does something they don't want. It slows everything down enough for them to feel themselves. And that's exactly what they spend most of their time trying to avoid. So when you're quiet, not wounded quiet, not passive-aggressive quiet, just grounded quiet, it disrupts the pace they depend on. Suddenly, there's no easy emotional furniture in the room, no obvious cue, no predictable script, no constant confirmation that everything is fine. And insecure people read that absence as danger. Not because silence is dangerous, but because silence removes distraction. And distraction is often how people avoid their insecurity. That's why some people can handle conflict better than quiet. At least conflict gives them something to react to. Quiet gives them themselves. And if a person has been living in reaction for years, stillness feels like exposure. So when you stop talking just to make the energy easy, you learn very quickly who was using your openness as emotional padding, because the secure person settles into your silence. The insecure person starts trying to escape it. 2. Your silence takes away their ability to manage you. Here's where it gets more personal. Some people are calm as long as they can read you, as long as they know what you're thinking, as long as they know how to influence the mood, as long as they know whether you're hurt, confused, available, impressed, anxious, or still attached to the old dynamic. But the moment you go quiet, something changes. Now they can't measure themselves through your reaction. They can't tell if you're still reachable, can't tell if you still need them, can't tell if you noticed something, can't tell if you've outgrown the pattern, and that uncertainty starts to eat at them. Because insecure people often don't just want connection, they want orientation. They want to know where they stand in your mind. They want to know how much access they still have. They want to know whether their image is still intact. So when you become still, self-contained, and less readable, they lose control of the map. And nothing unsettles insecure people more than losing their map. This is why people suddenly start doing odd things when you go quiet. They poke at you. They test the mood. They say something provocative. They fish for reassurance. They get extra sweet, or strangely cold, or sarcastic, or dramatic. Why? Because they're not always reacting to your silence itself. They're reacting to the fact that they can no longer steer the interaction through your immediate response, and that is terrifying to someone who survives by managing the room. 3. Your silence exposes how much of them is performance. This is where Jung really helps. He described the persona as the social mask, the role we wear to function, belong, be accepted, and survive socially. And when someone becomes too identified with that mask, they start confusing the role with the self. Now think about what silence does to a person who depends on persona. If the room gets quiet, the performance becomes more obvious. The charm starts looking rehearsed. The confidence starts looking strained. The humor starts looking defensive. The niceness starts feeling strategic. The detachment starts feeling forced. Noise can hide a lot. Silence can't. And that's why insecure people often become uncomfortable around someone who is naturally quiet and grounded. Because your silence doesn't compete with their persona, it highlights it. You're not even trying to expose them, but your refusal to perform creates contrast, and contrast is revealing. That's why some people become hyper-performative around silent people. They talk more, brag more, explain more, joke more, prove more, sell themselves more aggressively, because your silence has made them aware of how much they need to maintain the image. And the more someone depends on image, the more your quiet presence feels like a threat. Not because you're judging them, but because your lack of performance makes their performance louder. 4. Your silence wakes up their shadow. Now we get to the deeper layer, the shadow. In Jungian psychology, the shadow is made of everything a person pushes out of awareness: insecurity, envy, rage, shame, neediness, weakness, hidden desire, even buried strength. It is the part the ego doesn't want to claim, so it gets repressed, denied, and then projected outward. And silence is incredibly good at waking up the shadow. Why? Because shadow lives comfortably in distraction, in noise, in performance, in motion, in endless reaction. But silence changes the terrain. Silence makes inner material louder. A person's envy sounds louder. Their self-doubt sounds louder. Their need for approval sounds louder. Their resentment sounds louder. Their fear of being seen sounds louder. So when you go quiet, insecure people often don't just hear your silence. They hear their own unconscious reacting inside it. And that's a brutal experience if someone has never learned to sit with themselves honestly. This is why people can feel judged by you even when you're saying nothing, because sometimes the judgment they feel is not coming from you. It's coming from the parts of themselves your silence just dragged into the light. And instead of realizing that, many people do something easier. They make you the problem. You're too distant, too intense, too hard to read, too reserved, too cold, too much in your own world. But very often, what they really mean is, when you stop speaking, I can hear what I've been trying not to hear in myself. That's the real panic, not your silence. Their echo inside it. 5. When you go quiet, insecure people start writing stories. This is one of the clearest signs of the whole dynamic. The moment you go quiet, people start creating meaning. She must be mad. He's being arrogant. She's acting different. He thinks he's better now. She's trying to make a point. He wants attention. She's punishing me. He's hiding something. And what's interesting is that silence reveals who can tolerate ambiguity and who absolutely cannot. Secure people ask, or they wait, or they stay calm. Insecure people fill the gap fast. Because the unknown is unbearable when your nervous system is already unstable. So instead of saying, I don't know what this means, they decide what it means immediately, not because they're accurate, but because certainty feels safer than uncertainty, even false certainty. That's why silence triggers projection so easily. People start pouring their own fear into the blank space. If they fear rejection, your silence becomes rejection. If they fear being exposed, your silence becomes judgment. If they fear abandonment, your silence becomes withdrawal. If they fear loss of control, your silence becomes a threat. And here's the hard part for perceptive people. You may be quiet for completely innocent reasons. You may be thinking, reflecting, resting, protecting your energy, choosing not to over-explain. But insecure people often don't read silence by what it is. They read it by what it awakens in them. That is such an important distinction, because once you understand that, you stop blaming yourself every time someone gets uneasy around your stillness. 6. This is why they try to provoke you into speaking. If you've ever gone quiet and suddenly watched someone become reactive, this part will make sense. They don't always want conversation. Sometimes they want relief, and relief comes the moment you react. If they can get you to explain, defend, reassure, chase, argue, or clarify, then the silence is broken, and once the silence breaks, they can breathe again. Why? Because now the mystery is gone, the pressure is gone, the mirror is gone. That's why insecure people often provoke quiet people. They throw little hooks into the water, a passive-aggressive comment, a weird joke, a guilt trip, a sudden burst of warmth, a test, a complaint, a phrase they know will usually get a response. They're not always trying to hurt you. Sometimes they're just trying to escape the discomfort of not knowing what your silence means. They want movement again. They want the emotional machine back on, because as long as they can get you reacting, they no longer have to sit with what your stillness was making them feel. And maybe you've seen this. You go quiet, and someone who used to ignore you suddenly wants clarity, suddenly wants to talk, suddenly wants to know if everything is okay, suddenly feels concerned. But the concern isn't always about your well-being. Sometimes it's about their discomfort with no longer having emotional access on demand. That's why silence can reveal hidden entitlement faster than conflict ever will. Conflict gives people something to fight. Silence shows people what they expected from you without ever saying it. 7. The twist. Your silence doesn't dominate them. It returns them to themselves. Here's the deeper twist I want to leave with you. Your silence is not powerful because it dominates people. It's powerful because it returns people to themselves. That's why it unsettles insecure people so much. You're not overpowering them. You're not controlling them. You're not humiliating them. You're simply refusing to keep them distracted from what's already inside them. And that is much harder to tolerate than direct conflict. Because conflict lets people stay external. Silence turns them inward. And many insecure people have spent years building a life around not going inward. So when your quiet energy removes the usual escape routes, they feel trapped. Not by you, by themselves. That's the part almost nobody talks about. Silence is terrifying when your whole inner world is unresolved. Silence is threatening when your identity depends on performance. Silence is painful when you've been outrunning shame, envy, need, confusion, or loneliness. So yes, your silence makes insecure people panic, but not because silence is cruel, because it's honest. It doesn't flatter, it doesn't chase, it doesn't decorate the moment, it doesn't rescue people from what rises in them. And if someone is not ready for honesty, even your stillness can feel like confrontation. So what do you do with all this? First, stop assuming your silence is automatically wrong. Not every quiet moment is avoidance. Not every pause is punishment. Not every boundary needs a paragraph attached to it. Sometimes silence is just self-respect without performance. Second, stop over-explaining yourself to people who only relax when they can constantly read and manage you. If someone becomes unstable the moment you stop feeding the interaction, that tells you something important. It tells you they may have been more attached to access than to actual connection. Third, don't weaponize silence. That matters. Because there is a difference between grounded silence and manipulative silence. Grounded silence is clean. It doesn't beg, doesn't punish, doesn't bait. It simply refuses to abandon itself for the comfort of others. And finally, remember this. The people who fear your silence are often the same people who were relying on your noise, your reassurance, your openness, your over-explaining, your emotional labor, your immediate reaction. So when that noise stops, they don't just miss the sound, they miss the control it gave them. And once you see that, everything starts to make more sense. The coldness, the pressure, the sudden attitude, the weird tension, the attempts to pull you back into the old dynamic. You don't have to hate them for it. You just have to understand what's happening. Your silence is making insecure people face the one thing they avoid most, themselves. And the ones who are ready for growth will settle into that silence and become more honest. The ones who aren't will panic and call it your problem. And before you go, I want to ask you something for the comments. Have you ever gone quiet around someone, not to punish them, just to protect your peace, and watch them become louder, colder, or strangely defensive? What do you think your silence awakened in them? If that's happened to you, comment, "My silence said enough." Because I promise you, a lot of people here have lived this exact thing and never had the language for it.